Oh my goodness, fam. We are finally here. I'm finally laying down my Black Panther spread, and I am beyond excited to get into it. So, let's start with the nitty gritty. First of all, hello. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel. If you're new around these parts, thank you so much for clicking on this channel. We do a lot of planning and love sticky paper. Occasionally you'll see a budgeting video or two. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you already know what to do. Subscribe, share, like, all the good things that all the YouTubers ask. You did too. Good Lord. Anyways, in today's video, I'm planning for the week of November 7th. I'm using my Wakanda kit, and I am just so excited for this. I've been looking forward to using this since I kind of was in the process of creating it. Like, I'm so excited. I don't think I've seen anyone's Black Panther spread yet. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen anyone's Black Panther spread with my kit yet. Pretty sure, at least at the time that I'm doing this voiceover. So maybe that'll change down the line. But at the time I'm doing this voiceover, I haven't seen anyone's spread yet. So I'm really excited to start to see those come in, hopefully soonish. I'm excited to see Plan With Me's. I've definitely seen it featured in hauls. I've seen it featured in a few kit lineup videos. So off the bat, thank you so much for your support on this kit. It is beyond me and will always be. So thank you so much. I started to talk through just the intro portion because I wanted to show you guys like the different options I was considering for foil. I got a lot of questions from people that bought the kit about what foil they would use. Obviously, this is coming at the umpteenth hour. I already had conversations with those people that reached out. But if you're still like wondering about foil, here's all the things I pulled. And literally it was a game time decision. So a lot of this part was a talk through. So if you see my hands moving around a lot, that's why I just decided to speed it up and talk over it. My camera kept doing this odd like refocusing thing every 2 minutes or so. And it was annoying me. So I decided to just speed through it. But you can still pretty much see the different things that I was considering using. I did end up going with holo foil. I used the Black Panther holo foil from Happy Sticker Designs and the holo movie foil bundle from Caress Press. I used a combo of those, and I'm obsessed because the kit that I created pulls in like the movie going experience, but also obviously elements of Black Panther and of Wakanda. Right here you can see me showing you my mock spread. This is what I posted on Instagram and you guys loved it. So I was kind of afraid that I used it up for the mock spread and that it wouldn't come out as good, honestly. So I'm so glad that it did. It did come out amazing. Top, definitely right as of today. This is my favorite spread of the year. Hands down. There's nothing right now beating this spread. So I'm really excited and I really love how it turned out with the holo. So the mock spread you saw was kind of in my mock spread planner, which I use to like test out my stickers, especially if I'm going to sell them, or just if I want to plan on my own, or maybe want to use up a kit, like an older kit, I'll use that planner. And I used the blue prism foil from Happy Sticker Designs, and of course it looks amazing. So I was like, oh no, like I wasted that on my mock spread and not on my like memory planner spread, which is the one obviously that you're seeing that I film in and all that stuff, but it ended up working out. Oh, and I also used these Avengers underlays from Plannahannah in holo. So I actually used 3 different foil shops for this spread, but I do think it turned out amazing. So, okay. That was a lot. We have a lot to talk about. I'm just going to get right into it. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on the Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie. If you guys have not seen the movie and do not want spoilers, go ahead and mute me or add this video to your watch later list because I am going to be discussing spoilers. Like, it's very hard to talk about this movie without giving away spoilers. So, if you don't want any spoilers, this is your last warning. Exit the video or put me on mute, or put me on your watch later list, whatever you want. Here we go. Okay. Whew. I have to say, this movie has been the movie that has left me processing for the longest time. Like, I was very, I don't know if impacted is the word, but I guess impacted by the film, to where even, I mean, we're almost, I don't know, 3 weeks out now. I have seen the film twice because there is a lot going on in this film. And I saw it twice so that I could have a better kind of grasp of this kind of review, and also just a better grasp for myself, because obviously this is a franchise that is near and dear to me for several reasons. So I saw it twice, and I'm still processing a lot of it, to be honest with you. It's a very heavy emotionally. It is very powerful. It's very beautiful. And there are things that I absolutely loved about it. So we're going to go through the good and the things that I didn't love about it, which the things I loved, of course, greatly outweigh the things I didn't love. So let's get started. So the first thing, I think that this movie did 3 things very well. It did a lot of things very well, but I think 3 things they just kind of knocked out of the park. The first thing was, I think that this was a true, like, above all else, above being an MCU film, above being an action film, above pushing the narrative in the MCU, above closing out phase 4, this was a love letter to Chadwick Boseman. That was this film. I think it permeated throughout the film. I think that you really felt the absence of Chadwick Boseman in this film, so much so that I think at some point, like towards the beginning part of the film, I was like, how are they going to do this? Like, how are they going to do this? Because it's like a gaping hole, in my opinion. Obviously, this is all my opinion. And it's interesting, although I felt that absence, it was so apparent. I feel like overall his presence was also apparent, and like, what a thing to be able to convey in a movie. Like, holy wow. All hail Ryan Coogler for that. You know, at the end of the film, you'll see something that says, you know, in memory of, or in honor of, you know, X, in honor or in memory of Y. And at the end of this film, of course, there was, you know, like, dedicated to our friend Chadwick Boseman. And like, literally, like, I remember seeing that and I was like, no, literally, like, literally, this was a tribute to Chadwick Boseman through and through, I think, above all else. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so beautiful. And of course, so powerful, and all the things that people are saying about it. So number 1, I think they killed that. Like, that was one of the best, one of the things that was the most well done in the film. The second thing that I think was really well done in the film is grief. It's a story about grief and moving on, which is a very rare thing, I think, to see in an MCU film. Like, if someone would pitch you that log as like, here's what this film is about, your first guess is probably not going to be an MCU film. Just saying. So I think that they really did that beautifully, the way they followed Shuri's grief, Shuri's journey of grief, which was, I feel, which was pretty much the main, I would say the main storyline in this movie. There are other things happening. There are a lot of things happening in this movie, like I said, but I think that was definitely one of the main things that was happening, is following her journey in grief and how she's handling it, as opposed to how, you know, some of the other characters are handling grief. And I thought that that was really well told. And it's a very heavy thing, right? It's not a thing that usually we center movies around, because it's kind of not something that people talk about a lot. It's very private. It's very personal. So it was really beautiful to see how they told that story, I think. And the third thing, y'all, the third thing that this franchise just does so well is the cultural representation. I know y'all probably like, I'm so tired of you saying that. Tough. Tough. This movie does that so well. And of course they did it perfectly in the first Black Panther, right? That's why everyone calls it such a cultural phenomenon, right? They captured it so well. And I watched there was like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that was shared, and like the cast and the crew were talking about how they traveled to Africa. They had consultants, like cultural consultants that were of the cultures they were trying to portray in this film on set, because they wanted to make sure that if they did it right. I mean, down to costume design, down to languages. I forgot how many languages. I think it was Ryan Coogler who said there, forgive me, maybe seven different languages spoken in this film. Like, what? Like, what? So I love how important it is for them to do it right. And they killed that. I mean, which Namor, we gonna talk about Namor, y'all. But the way they portrayed the whole Talokan underwater world, that culture, that story, I think was top notch. They killed that. I think they killed that, and they always do. And there was this really beautiful interview that was done at Comic-Con when they revealed the official trailer for the movie, and there's something Winston Duke says, who he plays in M'Baku, which M'Baku is everything, y'all. Let's just say that. But he says, in a world of superpowers, a universe of superhero movies, our superpower is inclusion. And I was like, Winston, hats off to you, because that was perfectly said. They just kill it every time, and I love it. They're 2 for 2 in that for me. So I think those are the 3 things they did the best. Other things that I loved about the film are the performances, like hands down. I think a lot of people are like, what am I trying to say? There's Oscar buzz around Angela Bassett's performance. I agree 1,000%, 3,000% on that. She was absolutely amazing in this. And I think the best scene of this movie is the scene in the throne room with her and Okoye. And I feel like Denai, who plays Okoye, is not getting enough praise for that performance. I think that she was also in that scene. I think she was phenomenal. I love that they had that discussion, because it wasn't addressed in the last one, and I felt like, yeah, about that. Like, when they started talking about that, I was like, yeah, about that, because that was messed up. Although of course Okoye had her motivations. Basically in that scene they're talking about, gosh, I don't know how to do this without spending a lot of time going over the plot. But basically it's brought up how Okoye supported Killmonger when he was when he was king, when he kind of took the throne, because, she stated she was loyal. It's a quote from the first movie, she's loyal to the throne regardless of who sits in it. And that was kind of brought up in this, and I thought that was done perfectly, especially from the perspective of a mother who's grieving. Like, that's the best scene. That's the best scene of that film. Hands down. I think they both should have Oscar buzz. I feel like Denai should have Oscar buzz for this role. Because I loved her character arc. It felt so true to the character. So I really, really loved her in this film. So yes, performances were top notch. Angela Bassett was amazing. I think Okoye Denai was amazing. Letitia Wright was getting a lot of praise for her performance as well. I mean, this is an A1 cast, so like you expect that, but I loved her performance. M'Baku is the most hilarious thing ever. Like, M'Baku is a mood. M'Baku is a mood. The funniest line I think in the whole movie is his line. When he's like, "You bald-headed demon." I cannot. Amazing. M'Baku is great. Of course, Lupita Nyong'o is just like A1. Again, this cast is A1. Tenoch Huerta as Namor. Bro, I told y'all. I done told y'all. I was like, I really think when I saw the trailers, I was like, I really think Tenoch Huerta is about to really like do something. And I loved him as Namor, like loved him as Namor. I think he's such a strong villain for the MCU, which honestly, I feel like both of the Black Panthers have introduced some of the strongest villains in the MCU. Period. Speaking of villains in the MCU, there was a surprise cameo from Michael B. Jordan reprising Killmonger in the scene where Shuri takes the heart-shaped herb, which actually I thought was epic. Like, there were people, like I saw some reviews where people were saying it felt like forced and they just brought him back to like bring him back, but it didn't really fit the narrative. I thought it fit the narrative perfectly, because he is the reason, right, that a synthetic heart-shaped herb needs to exist, which is what Shuri created and took. So I think it's amazing that that's who she sees. Not to mention that plays right into the vengefulness that she's feeling, and he was just vengeful. Like, his whole character is based on vengeance. So it makes perfect sense that in the headspace that she's in, that's where she would go. Or that's who she would see. So I thought that was a perfect cameo. Michael B. Jordan in that role is just next level. Like, he embodies that character in a way that I don't even understand. But again, great actors do that. So performances were A1. This cast is A1, so none of that is surprising to me. What else? I'm trying to think of what else I loved. I think that's it for things that I really loved and were really done well. Now for the things that I didn't love so much. And some of these may be unpopular opinions. Again, overall, I love the movie. I've seen it twice. I will see it again when it comes out in streaming. I will always love this franchise. Like, that's just me. But things that I didn't love. I did not love Riri Williams in this. Now, before y'all come at me, it's not that I don't like Riri Williams' character. I just don't like the way she was used in this. I feel like this was speculation. I'll say that for speculation, but I feel like this was purely a Marvel decision because they have the Ironheart series coming out on Netflix. What am I talking about? On Disney Plus. Not on Netflix. They have the Ironheart series coming to Disney Plus, I think next year, and they wanted to build some hype around that because, I mean, they have been pushing Disney Plus forever. Like, forever. They're trying to get as many people subscribed to that service and watching and streaming as possible, which I get, but I don't think that's a good enough reason to stick a character into a narrative and just make it work. I feel like that was a Marvel decision, and it was like told to Ryan Coogler, hey, we need to make this work. I like the character. I don't like how the character was used. I don't feel like she really brought anything to the story other than like some comedic relief. I think the dorm scene at MIT is fun. I thought it was funny, and I thought it was fun. But like otherwise, I don't really love how she was used. And I understand that she's a big plot point because the whole kind of conflict comes from the fact that Namor wants to kill this scientist who created the machine that can detect vibranium because he wants to protect his people. So I understand like that motivation. But then there's even a point in the movie where he says it's not even about the scientist anymore. And I'm like, why do we have this whole scientist here to begin with then? Like, if it's not even about her anymore. And then I just felt like that weakened the plot line for me. I think that weakened the story development for me. It did not work for me. And again, she just didn't have a whole lot of, like, it just didn't feel like there was a reason for her to be in it. Other than, we have this Ironheart series coming and we want you to watch. Which I think, you know, for some people it worked and some people are more excited to see her in Ironheart. But, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you can swing Miss Marvel without having her in a big film before, they could have swung Ironheart without having her in a big film before, you know? So, that's just me, but I did not love that addition to the narrative. I think there's certain plot holes and weak points about how the story kind of progresses and flows. And I think that was unfortunate because obviously the plot kind of carries the story. So I feel like it was a little shaky, I guess is the best way I can put it. It was a little, But obviously, again, overall, I love the movie and I will see it again and again, and I'll support all of it because I'm obsessed. But if I'm being honest, that was definitely a downfall for me. And then Black Panther itself, like, we haven't talked about the fact that Shuri is the new Black Panther. Like, that is, and honestly, even they pretty much gave it away in the second trailer. Everyone was like, that's got to be Shuri, just based off the build. Even the design of the suit was Shuri. So people, you know, were kind of saying that's got to be Shuri. That's got to be Shuri. It is indeed Shuri. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm okay with it. You know, obviously this is what they went with. I kind of wish it was Nakia. I know, y'all, don't come for me. I love Shuri. Like, legit love Shuri. But I really loved her as, like, the genius sister that does all the technology and that. Like, I loved her in that light. And while I still think it would have been interesting to follow her journey through grief, she's probably one of the people that's most touched by it. I mean, you could have also followed Nakia's journey through grief in a lot of ways, but obviously it would have been hard to then have that mid-credit scene where, you know, little T'Challa is the thing, exists. Which, that mid-credit scene is absolute perfection. Like, I thought it was a great way to tie up the movie. It was a great way to leave the audience with hope, especially with a movie that's so heavy emotionally. So I thought that was beautiful. Little T'Challa is the sweetest thing ever. And I didn't catch this on first viewing, but I watched someone say this, or read it somewhere, where they were saying, like, oh, did you catch that he actually was in the movie when the queen goes to Haiti to find Nakia to ask her help in retrieving Shuri from Talokan. So I love that. I love that little, like, foreshadowing, that little, like, Easter egg. He is so adorable. Maybe we'll see him again. You know, a lot of people are like, is this going to be the new Black Panther? Obviously, he's only like 5 or 6 in this movie, so they would have to age him quite a bit to make that work, unless we don't see him for another 10, 20 years, because let's be honest. But I think that, you know, in this kind of multiverse madness kind of universe or direction that the MCU is going in, we could see him as, you know, Black Panther in another universe, right? In an alternate universe. So that'll be interesting to see what they do with that. Also interesting, at the end, it looks like M'Baku's getting the throne, which I think is going to be very interesting, just considering the character of M'Baku. I don't know how that's going to work. It's going to be interesting to see if anyone challenges for the throne, because it ends with him doing, like, the, like, traditional river ceremony, where he's asking, like, who's challenging for the throne. So it'll be really interesting to see if they open with that in what will be, I guess, a third Black Panther, if they do one, and who does end up challenging for the throne. Definitely left this movie very open-ended for lots of story to be told in the future, whether it be through another Black Panther film or just through the MCU in general. And I'm very interested, as always. They're great at doing this. Always interested to see what they're going to do and where else these characters might show up, especially with, like, the timeline of movies that have been revealed with the Avengers. There's Avengers movies coming down the line. I think maybe 2024 or 2025 or something like that is when those are coming. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Ant-Man is the next one coming, so I'm really interested to see where that's going. Again, didn't get much from the trailer other than the visuals are amazing. But we'll see. There's probably going to be another trailer that comes out probably in about a month, because I think the Ant-Man one, or maybe next month, actually. Yeah, so that'll be fun. And, oh, the last thing, y'all. I don't want to forget to talk about this. The music in this movie is next level. This soundtrack is better, I think, than the soundtrack for the first album. And the soundtrack for the first album is good. So I think this one's better. I loved, they pulled in so many African artists into this. They pulled in so many Latinx artists into this. It's just, it's beautiful. It's a masterpiece. It's a work of art. I think is it the composer? I think his name is Ludwig, something like that. I'm pretty sure that he won an Oscar for the first one. Him and Ruth Carter, who does the costume design. So, I'm not surprised, but like, oof. And, you know, I know there's a lot of hype around the Rihanna songs, rightfully so. This is the first time she's dropped new music in like 6 years. So I totally get the hype around that. But let me tell you, those two songs are not the best songs on the soundtrack by a country mile. And they're good, but they're not the best songs on the soundtrack. So definitely recommend if you haven't gotten into it, and if you enjoyed like the music you heard if you watched the movie, which I'm assuming at this point, if you're here, you probably watched the movie, or you're not going to be watch it, or you really don't care about spoilers. One of the three. But if you're interested in the music, I definitely recommend checking out the soundtrack. There's an interlude actually that is just like gut-wrenching to me. It's by Stormzy, who's a UK artist. I think he's a rapper. I think at least he raps in the interlude. And it's funny, I heard that song and I actually thought immediately of Shuri. Like that, I feel like that interlude aligns so much with where she's at as we follow her through the movie. But like, gut-wrenching. He's dropping bars in that. I need to check out his other stuff because I thought it was phenomenal. And then, as you guys can see, I moved on to Sunday and completely forgot to fill in my plans for Underneath the Extender on Saturday, so you'll see me go back to that in a second. Anyways, just a quick quick nod to the spread and what's going on in there. But that song, or that interlude, is amazing. And then Burna Boy's song on the album is Alone, and that's like incredible. Like, it's just next level. So all right, I think I covered most of my thoughts. Again, it's a really big movie, so I'm sure there's things I didn't go over. But if there's anything that, you know, was your favorite scene or something you like the best about the movie, let me know down below. If there was something you like the least about the movie, let me know down below. And you can always DM me if you guys want to chat about the movie more. Obviously, I could chat about it forever. But yeah, that's it, I think. Looks like we're almost nearing the end here. We're on Sunday. The next Marvel movie coming up is Ant-Man, which should be interesting. I feel like that's really going to get us. I feel like Ant-Man is the build up to what will be the next Avengers, which I think is in 2024 or 2025, one of those years. So I feel like Ant-Man is like the first movie that's going to start building towards whatever is going to be like the big clash in the Avengers movies that are coming. So I'm very interested to see who will be a part of those Avengers. Like, I'm ready to see Shang-Chi again, y'all. Of course, I'm ready to see, you know, anyone from Wakanda again. I'm ready to see all of them. So excited for that. And yeah, those are my thoughts. I'm tired. I did this voiceover like 25,000 times because there's just so much to cover. But I hope you guys enjoyed me just literally going on and on and on and on and on about this movie. Here I am just showing you guys a close-up of just how amazing this spread turned out. I'm in love. Like, top spread of 2022 right here. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, as it really does help support the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future planning content. If you made it this far, go ahead and drop a black heart emoji on the bottom, and I'll catch y'all real soon. Bye.